All right, welcome to Church for All Nations. Wow, you guys look great. So, correct me, clerk and recorder? That's right. So we're having our clerk and recorders forum. My name is Ken Davis. I am part of the Church for All Nations Culture Impact Team. I'm going to ask that we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, I'm coming back to that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you don't mind, I'm going to enter in with some prayer. If you do mind, well, you're in a church, too bad. Heavenly Father, we just thank you right now for this awesome opportunity. We thank you, Father, for all of the candidates that have shown up today. We ask, Lord, that your Holy Spirit be in this place today. Bring peace, Lord. Just bring a understanding of the candidates, who they are, what it is they do. I thank you, Father, that you have opened up the windows of heaven to all of us, and you're pouring out such a blessing on us that we will not have room enough to receive. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Now you can be seated. All right, I'm going to run through some announcements. If you have any children and you have them in childcare, there's no childcare. Ooh. If you have a child and he or she is in this room, put a pacifier in their mouth or something to keep them from being loud. If you've never been in this building before, out this door, to my right, your left, are the men and women's bathrooms, the men and women's bathroom. And if you go out this door, to your left down the hall is also a men's bathroom and a woman's bathroom. Okay? If you have a cell phone of any type, even if it is a dumb phone, please put it on silent, vibrate, or airplane mode. We would greatly appreciate it. We do not want anything to disturb the candidates as they're answering questions. Also, please be mindful. This is being live cast on YouTube. If you know someone that would like to watch our proceedings here, please send them to cultureimpact.us, and they can log into our YouTube channel from there. They'll find a link. That website is cultureimpact.us. Look, I didn't even tell them to do that, and it's on the screen. And then we've got some things going on in the back. So we have these books available in the back, along with the Founder's Bible, as well as another book written by David Barton. But this is called the Catechism on the Constitution. As the person in this church that teaches on the Constitution, I believe everyone should know their Constitution if you are a citizen. If you are not a citizen and you're striving to become one, you should learn the Constitution of the United States as it is the law of the land. So Catechism on the Constitution is also in the back. I would ask everyone, I know elections do things to people. It does things to people. So we're asking that tonight you walk in harmony and peace with your opponent. So please, no yelling. It's okay if you agree with your candidate of choice, that you clap. But I ask that you not, lodge threats at me because you didn't like the question. And if you do lodge threats at me, please understand, I have people in the building with guns. Just letting you know. So there's no confusion when you run at me and something hits you before you can get to me. Just letting you know. All right? Our next meeting is May 25th. On May 25th, we will be hosting former Congressman Steve King and Sharona Bishop. If you've never heard of her, she goes by America's Mom. And that will be here with Neil Schurer, a former Iowa senator. Couple things, breaking news. So is there anyone here who is planning on going to the Hold the Line conference? Is there anyone here who was thinking about going to the Hold the Line conference, but you didn't want to pay for it? It's now free. So this coming Friday, I believe it's at the Road, the Hold the Line conference will be free. So if you'd like to attend that, the graphic is up right now showing those that will be speaking at the Hold the Line conference. Also breaking news. I'm sorry, I'm so excited about this one. On June 6th, we will be hosting a candidate forum for our Congressional District 5. Hey, get excited like me. Thank you. I feel like you're clapping for me. Thank you. Thank you. And also our El Paso County candidates that are running for county commissioner. So June 6th, that will be going on. All right, last thing, kind of housekeeping. There is a phone number that we will bring up, and that phone number is how you will text in a question. Okay, that phone number is 719-357-7753. As I mentioned before, it is up on the screen. That is the number for texting in your question. We also would love for folks to sign up to receive, all of the information that we send out on a weekly basis. And so we have on the back, there's a QR code you can use to sign up for emails from the Culture Impact team here at Church for All Nations. But if you have a question, now's a good time to send said question in. I will be monitoring the question. If your question, I'm just letting you know up front, so you're not coming up to me afterwards, why didn't you ask my question? If your question is somehow there to try and trip up one of the candidates or embarrass a candidate, just know I pre-read them, I'm screening them, and I won't read your question. Have it be a question that has something to do with the position that these three candidates are vying for. Want to bring the text number up again, please? 719-357-7753. See, questions are already flooding in. All right, with that, here's how tonight will go. We're going to give each candidate 2 minutes for opening statements. After that, the drilling will begin. So that's when we'll start asking questions. When we are done with the Q&A portion, we're going to allow the three candidates to go out to their tables, and if there's something more intimate in a conversation you'd like to have with them, that's where you'll do it. Again, remember, my people in the building with guns are not just here to protect me. So don't go up to their table, yelling at them, and spitting in their faces, the kind of stuff that brings out the best in everyone during election season. All right? All right. So we'll begin to my left. Steve will open up with his 2 minutes. There is a timekeeper. She is directly in front of you. She has a flag. That is Miss Linda. And when you have, where are we going to flag them? 15 seconds? The first flag, we're going to let them know they're running out of time. Oh, so listen, when I see the flag, that means I'm going to mute your mic and we're going to move on. All right, everyone, our three candidates.
Awesome. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Schleiker, and I am running to be your next El Paso County Clerk and Recorder. At a lot of times, I will share is I want to appreciate the candidates, all of us coming together. This is the first time that we're on the stage with one another. And a question that comes up, why are you running? So I will share with you is my little 4'9" mother right over here, not even taller than the chair. In 2020, I called her from shops at Briargate. She lives in Wolf Ranch, and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm driving by. You want me to come pick up your ballot? The clerk and recorder's office is right next to mine." And my mom said, "Don't worry about it." And I said, "Well, I'm just here. I'll grab you a cup of coffee." She goes, "Bring the cup of coffee." So I ended up going there, and I asked my mom, "Mom, why are you not wanting to vote?" She goes, "I don't think it's going to count." Do many of us in this room feel the same way? So here basically is what happened. If my 72-year-old mom feels the same way, I wondered how many people within our community felt the same way. And I took the time and I went out there and I met with a lot of people, not knowing if they're Democrats, independents, Republicans. And folks, I will tell you, nearly 70% of everybody I talk to, either in a King Soopers, at the mailbox, on the streets, have concerns in regards to our elections. And to me, it's going to take a very unique individual, a proven individual, to bring the credibility back to our elections, and I am that person. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Peter Lupia, obviously also running for Clerk and Recorder. I'd like to start real quickly by just touching on what my platform is. Since the beginning of my launch into the campaign, my #1 priority has been election security, and I believe that includes getting rid of Dominion voting machines here in El Paso County. I would love to see us get away from having election season and going back to voting on election day. And what that means is you show up at your local precinct with your ballot and an ID to cast your vote where it's hand counted, and we move on from there. My second issue that I'd like to see us work on is election integrity. We have issues with ballot boxes that are unsecure. I think a lot of us have seen 2,000 Mules recently, which goes along with the ballot harvesting issues that are potential in that arena. I'd like to get us away from all mail-in ballots again, and we'll have to work with the legislature to do that. And there are a number of other ways that we can work to improve our transparency here. And then my third issue is I'd love to be able to serve the community better. So there are a number of taxes and fees that we can take a look at reducing. There are some opportunities to expand our service area by adding some satellite offices up in the north part of the county and the southeast part of the county where the major growth is happening. And I also think we could add some services. We could become a passport agency as well. So an opportunity there to add service and bring people to the Clerk and Recorder's office. A little bit about myself. My family is now 5th generation here in El Paso County. My father's a graduate of the Air Force Academy, a retired 2-star general, so I grew up in the military lifestyle. I'm familiar with everything that goes on in there. And I've been a local businessman here in the community for over 20 years. I'm a business consultant. I work with companies to help them maximize the efficiency of their organization. And so that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Is it on?
No, it's
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Wilkes. Can you hear me?
Lisa. Take the other mic, please.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Hi, my name is Lisa Wilkes. Good evening. And I am, again, running for Clerk and Recorder here in El Paso County. I am a mathematician. I spent 15 years in IT. I'm very... as a mathematician, I enjoy solving complex issues and problems and taking things apart to be able to organize them and make them easy to take care of. And, sorry. And it is essential to the security of our elections that the person who is the Clerk and Recorder is impartial. I believe that it is more important that the integrity of our elections is unquestionable than who wins. I am the Democratic candidate up here. I'm not in a primary. And it really is important to me that our data is secure and that there's no question and that everyone feels like their vote does count because that's what we are doing when we're voting. So my commitment to the voters of El Paso County is to increase the tours and facilities so that people can see what the election process is and see if it's secure and also be able to comment on it and tell us what we should be doing better. I also want to live stream our audits so that there's no question about transparency. We need to know that everything is above board. I also want to further secure election integrity by regularly reviewing the voter registration roll so we don't have issues like in that people who are dead are voting, we would take them out of the roll. To make sure that no party can also gerrymander the election, no matter who's in power, right? My commitment to the drivers of El Paso County is to increase online access without removing anything, so that if you want to come in person, you have the ability you have the ability to come in person. And then I want to fight to reduce fees that are not mandatory by the state, and then anything that is mandatory, support.
Okay. I'm going to try and combine, and this question is for all three, but it has been pretty much the overwhelming question. You can only imagine where we're going with this first question. Yeah, and that's correct. So you will have 1 minute, to answer. So 60 seconds to respond to the question. We want to make sure we get as many questions in as possible. And I'm going to, again, try to combine, these 5 questions into one. Do I even need to, I'll just say Dominion, and you can go from there on that. And then one person also wanted to know, or their concern is they would love to get rid of the ballot boxes. So I'll combine them both. Your thoughts on how to either eliminate or keep Dominion, or the reasons why, and also would you get rid of the ballot boxes, and how would you go about doing so? Who would like to start? Can I be random? I can just pick anyone I want? Eeny, meeny, miny, Peter.
Okay. Uh-oh. There we go. We're back. Okay. With relationship to getting rid of Dominion, the county commission are the folks that actually sign the contracts for Dominion. So in working with the county commission, we have the ability to make decisions as to how we conduct our elections. The state statute gives us that direction. We have to follow certain things, but we have the ability to make the decision to get rid of Dominion. We have the decision to go to hand counting should we choose. There are 5 counties in Colorado right now that are hand counting their ballots, so we would not be the only ones doing that. With regard to the ballot boxes, the way we get rid of those is we unscrew them and we remove them. People then have to come to a polling place and deliver their ballots in hand. We have a serious challenge in security and integrity if the chain of custody is broken over and over again with ballots.
Ms. Wilkes?
All right, trying again. There we go. So as far as Dominion goes, I, as a computer nerd and person who gets into data, I would definitely do analysis on them. And what I would really like to do is get white hat security. Like I want somebody who is a hacker to take that down, the system down, and check and see if there's any flaws or problems with it. If there is a better system, I would look into that. I'm not stuck to a specific system. I just want the system to be secure. As far as there are many counties, there are 4 counties, like you said, that do hand ballots. They are not the largest county in Colorado. We are the largest county in Colorado with over 400,000 voters, guys. And so for us to do hand counting would be incredibly expensive to people because of the amount of people we would have to have. I know you guys don't like my answer, I'm sorry. But they would be very hard to do, and the people who hand count are going to be having also issues. They're going to be also questioning the integrity as well. So I think we can find a place in the middle. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Before Steve goes, apparently some folks missed my earlier announcement. So I will reiterate. We will respect and we will respect the candidates up here. You don't need to yell at them if you don't agree, or if you do agree, feel free to clap. But there will be no disrespecting the other children of God that are on this stage. Are we okay?
That is a really good question, and I feel that your next clerk and recorder should be the voice of the people of El Paso County. If the voice is to get rid of the Dominion machines, you get rid of the Dominion machines. If the voice is to get rid of the ballot drop boxes, you get rid of the ballot drop boxes. Now, hand counting, and I will share with you, and I will share, I really appreciate what Peter said in his introduction, because some of the things he shared are directly right off my website and off my videos. So one thing I will sit there and share is Today, we are the largest, most populous county in the state of Colorado. We got over 745,000 residents here in the state. The last time El Paso County did a hand count was in the early 70s when our population was less than 250,000 people, and we had less than 100 precincts. Today, we got over 328 precincts, and I continually are signing subdivision plats that are coming in. So that's continually growing. The concern that I have with that, one of which is high schools no longer want to open up for voting. Safety concerns. Churches as well. So things that we have done back years ago is going to be a huge challenge to do today. Thank you very much.
What other departments does the clerk and recorder manage, and why do you feel qualified to run? This is for all candidates. I will begin with Lisa.
Thank you. So the clerk and recorder has 4 wheelhouses. So besides voting, it's going to be records, which is all of the licenses for people to get married and properties and births and death certificates, things like that. And then there is also clerk to the board of the county clerk. Yes, the county commissioners, sorry. And then the third one is our favorite motor vehicles department that everybody loves. And so all the licensing that it goes with driving and your vehicles and things like that. And then what was the other part of the question? Just that? Why am I qualified? Okay, so besides being a nerd, which I'm sorry I have to say I am into data analysis and efficiency and making things better, a user interface that's better for everybody. And that's the nerdy way of saying I want your experience to be better all around. I want you to trust everything no matter what section we're talking about. And I want you to be able to feel like you can interact with all of my departments, no matter what.
Didn't know if we were randomizing. So obviously, Lisa stated elections, DMV, records, clerk to the court are the primary. Also some business licenses and other things going under the clerk as well. I've been a private business consultant for over 20 years. I work with companies all of the time to help them maximize the efficiency in the operation of their company. I have managed budgets significantly larger than what the clerk and recorder's office has. I've managed people and divisions much larger than what the clerk and recorder's office has. So I feel like I've got all of the skill sets in place to be able to come in and from day one walk into that office and help start to maximize the efficiency of what we're doing there.
This is exactly the reason why experience and knowledge is extremely important, because one thing my opponents have failed to forget is another topic, which is the County Board of Equalization, which is the second level of property appeals that the clerk and recorder does. So if you don't agree with the assessor's outcome, it goes to the second level of appeals, which is done by the clerk and recorder's office at the County Board of Equalization. So why am I qualified? Is as your assessor the last 8 years, I have been that against the grain elected official, fighting for our Tabor Amendment, fighting for our property rights, fighting for the senior homestead disabled veteran exemption, lowering the personal property taxes during COVID, where I'm the only assessor in the state that has done that. In addition to that is a number of different things as far as writing legislation and passing legislation in regards to allowing our domestic violence and sexual abuse victims to be protected, and they could buy and sell real property and not having to be worried about being found by their abuser. So there are a lot of things that are going to, our next clerk and recorder are going to have to do, and part of it's dealing with the legislature, and that's why I'm qualified.
Okay, Steve, you're going to be first up. After the passing of Senate Bill 153, how will we restore control of elections to the county level?
That is an awesome, awesome question. And I will tell you, perfect. That is a horrible bill. And I knew as I was sitting there looking at it, and folks, I will tell you right now, we are looking at a one-party rule here in the state of Colorado and a one-party rule in the federal government. There was no doubt in my mind it was going to come down to a party line vote regarding that horrible bill. Any amendment that any legislator here that had a Republican behind their name did not pass. Would you all agree? So here's what we have to do. No matter the amendments, I have already been working on statutes and working with some of our legislatures in regards to changing that, forensic audits. In addition to that, we need to change the life cycle of our ballot. Right now, our 2020 ballots will be destroyed in November. They have a lifespan of 25 months. As your assessor, my documents are forever. Why is a government document not basically protected forever? So that is going to be part of the statute as well, where we protect that, and citizens can go to that information anytime they want. Thank you very much.
All right, so I believe I was the only candidate here to go up and testify against Senate Bill 153 numerous times, both in person and remotely, which is easily accessible to do. So I stand in firm opposition to 153. I'm currently supporting efforts to negate the worst parts of 153. There are numerous constitutional challenges, both from the federal and the state level, that this bill crosses. It violates some existing state statutes, causes conflict. And so the way we get around 153 is we have a county commission whose chair stated in public that they have spoken out in opposition to Senate Bill 153. And so I would expect to have their support in standing against it as well as we move forward. And that's how we take back control. We do what we are statutorily able to do, which is make determinations over our own elections.
So for me, I think that we definitely need to be holding on to all of our ballots and all of our information and keeping data as long as possible so that if there's any questions that you can go back and look at the information. I think that whenever the county disagrees, something like that, disagrees with something that is there, that we can go and speak on behalf of the county to say that we don't agree with this initiative or ballot item. Not that great, sorry.
All right, good job. Yeah, hold on, Peter. By the way, Steve, I just got my assessment.
It's a Valentine's letter, buddy.
All right. As clerk and recorder, would you eliminate funding from the clerk's office to the DA for the newly appointed assistant district attorney?
I'm going to simply say yes. I don't believe that one government entity should be funding another government entity. If they have a budget shortage over there, then I believe they need to address that over there. I understand that the DA or the assistant DA that was hired was to specifically look at election integrity issues, but we're well past the point where they've served their usefulness. And based on the fact that they only prosecuted a handful of people for minimal things, I don't think the job is taken seriously over there, so I don't believe the clerk and recorder's office should be funding the district attorney's office.
Thank you. I think that the budget for the clerk and recorder should stay with the clerk and recorder. There's enough things that we need to do there to invest in integrity of the office and of the election. We don't need to be funding the DA. We don't need to be funding anything else. We need to take and reinvest the money in technology, and as well as maybe even research to find out better ways to do a few things.
I would keep it, and here's why. Is we are sitting here not only looking at election integrity, but we are also looking at private property fraud. So private property fraud, as your assessor, I sit there and look at quitclaim deeds. We're working over 5,000 deeds a month that are coming in, and I'm seeing an uptick in people filing, individuals filing fraudulent quitclaim deeds, beneficiary deeds, things like that. And we need to prosecute. 3 years ago, there's an individual that filed 7 fraudulent deeds, and it was on properties up off of 19th and Uinta. So as your clerk and recorder, is I am going to keep that person in place to investigate this stuff, but I'm also going to instill in the recording department a program that you use assessor's data where every property owner can opt in. If there's a deed, a lien, anything that's filed on your property, you will be notified either by text, phone call, mail, however you want to opt into it. But not only are we talking about election security and integrity, but we also need to be talking about private property fraud as well. I would keep it. Thank you very much.
I am a 17, okay, I'm not. but the person that asked this question. I am a 72-year-old widow of a 100% disabled veteran. I pay full property taxes. I have been told I do not qualify for any property tax reduction. What is the county's views on this? I think that's more of a assessor's question.
I think that's the assessor, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
would
a-
have to say, as clerk and recorder, I would ask the assessor that information because I don't know.
Batter up. So that is a very good question, and that is one thing that I have worked extremely hard on as far as changing our legislation is the betterment of our senior homestead and disabled veteran exemption. Folks, I have really worked hard on this over the last 4 years to pass legislation to make the senior homestead exemption portable and also increase the exemption, and also the disabled veteran, reducing it from 100% being disabled down to about 50 or 40%, because it's the Veterans Administration that determines that. In addition, is anybody here, have you guys seen a house for $200,000 around here anytime? This is the reason why we need to increase it to $400,000 or more. We need to take care of our veterans. We need to take care of our Gold Star families, which is a title none of us want. And we need to take care of the spouses of our veterans who are considered 100% disabled. And I have tried, and I will continue to try. And as your clerk and recorder, I am an elected representative, and I will continue to work on those programs. Thank you very much.
Not being able to speak to it from the assessor's role, I would say as the clerk and recorder, my responsibility would be to make sure if that person reached out to our office and contacted me or someone in my office, that we didn't just say, talk to the assessor, that we got them in touch with the right person, we got them the help that they needed, and made sure that we passed them on, not passed them off.
What is the process of voter motor licensing? You're up, Steve.
So it's a very confusing process. As I have walked around many precincts, and as far as motor vehicles and things like that, folks, I found something out that bothered me. Did you know you could change your party affiliation when you renew your driver's license? Do you know how many Republicans that I ran into that are no longer Republicans? They're considered unaffiliated. That needs to stop. That needs to be basically done in your elections department, and it's very confusing when Republicans are going, well, Steve, I want to go ahead and take care of this and do this, but they're considered unaffiliated, and it's happened both sides. It's a very confusing process. But with that being said, there needs to be education, and also it needs to be much easier, allow online, which is, I've done as your county assessor, which my website gets hit 49 million times a year and is consistently voted as the #1 in the state of Colorado. But I will tell you is if there's anything regarding elections in regards on motor vehicle, driver's license renewal, that needs to be removed.
So I personally am not a fan of the motor voter. I don't believe that everybody that goes in for a driver's license should automatically be registered to vote. That said, that is the law here. And I was disturbed to learn just recently that the default when you register on the motor voter is unaffiliated. So if you don't say what you want specifically, they automatically change you or register you for the first time as an unaffiliated, and then it's your responsibility to go into your records through the Secretary of State and switch that. So I encourage everybody to check your registration frequently. I've spoken to a number of folks in the community and constituents who have had their registration changed, which affected their ability to participate in caucus, assembly, et cetera, et cetera. So it has grave implications. So I would love to do away with that and get legislation repealed that allows for that. But until that time, be very careful.
So I'm a little different on this one. I think it is important that we have more access for people. So when people go to get their license, then they're young and they're 17 or whatever, that they can get registered. But I think maybe what we need to do is make sure that we talk to people whenever they go in for a renewal to make sure that they know, stay with your party, do this the right way. So there's some work that we can do with staff so that there isn't a changing of someone's affiliation. But there are so many more people that are going to be registered through the bill. So I don't think that it needs to be completely erased. I think we can do a lot of work to make it so it doesn't inconvenience people or make people feel slighted. That's not the point of it. It is just to get more people to have more access.
Yeah, that process is crazy. I just went and checked my own registration, and somehow I'm registered as an anti-federalist. I didn't even think that still existed. All right. Yeah. So what might be the most controversial change you would make? We'll begin with Peter.
Most controversial change I would make, I would go back to my opening statement, is to work to get rid of Dominion here in El Paso County. I know there's a lot of conversation about the time it takes to hand count and et cetera, et cetera. We've seen recently that a team of 3 people can count 100 ballots in about an hour. In about 15 to 20 minutes. So if we can set up at the precinct level to do hand counting, that gets us voting done at a precinct level within 4 to 5 hours, based on the size of precincts and the number of votes that are cast there in a presidential election, much faster than an off-year election. So there's opportunity to do that at a very reasonable cost, and so that, for me, would be the biggest change.
So for me, the biggest change would be that I would probably try to move us more online. Now, I'm not saying get rid of anything in person, okay? Because everybody needs the ability to access things in person as well. But people like me, I'm high risk. That's why I'm probably the only person wearing a mask. I'm sorry if that offends you guys, but I'm high risk and I can't go out to a bunch of places without taking precautions. There are a lot of people who want to participate in democracy and in all the things that they need to do that should have access online. And I think we can make some easier changes to make things online, but still 100% keep the in-person, because people need that as well.
I would agree with Peter in some things, but I think the most controversial thing is just to be an educator, because when we're sitting here talking about hand counting in a county this large, is extremely difficult. And what I will say, it would also be a possibility of violation of Tabor, which is something we all as conservatives fight for each and every year. One of which is what makes El Paso County extremely unique. As a metro county, we are the only metro county that has 17 different school districts, 22 different fire districts, and we have 13 different towns and cities, where most metro counties have one school district, one fire district, and one city or municipality. We are extremely different, which means each one of those entities, and over 259 taxing entities per Tabor, can go to the ballot. It's going to get extremely confusing.
You didn't notice from who? Oh, what? Controversial.
Most controversial is I am not for hand counting. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try and make sense of this question. Sorry, don't mean to offend whoever wrote it. I'm just kidding. I don't. All right, does the state require a specific number of ballot boxes in this county?
As far as I know, there is no requirement, like legal requirement for a certain number of ballot boxes. But and maybe I should have said this is my controversial thing, is I would probably increase them. Sorry, guys. I would increase them just so that people have access and they can walk to it, because accessibility is very important to me. I think that everybody needs to be able to have their voice heard, and sometimes walking to a ballot might be too far away if they don't have a car. So that's what I would do.
No, the state does not require ballot boxes, so hence, as I said, I would remove the ballot boxes. I think for those that cannot get out of their car, we have opportunities for people to arrive at a polling place and still hand deliver their ballot to someone right at the curb. We see that all the time. Again, that's the best way to have chain of custody over that ballot, is it goes from you to an election official. So I would remove the ballot boxes since they're not required.
So it is not a state law, but it is a Secretary of State rule for ballot boxes. And what they look at is your population, and the Secretary of State will sit there and let the local clerk and recorder know as an unfunded mandate, if you did not know, that they need to increase the number of ballot boxes within the community. And I will share with you is, being a team player as your county assessor and having an outstanding GIS department in your county assessor's office, is there's times where the clerk and recorder will say, Steve, can you run some maps here in El Paso County in regards to population, density, things like that we do in the assessor's office. So it is a Secretary of State rule.
Okay, I've lost track. Steve, are you up first here? I think so. All right. And I'm going to take liberty here. Please give them 90 seconds to answer. 90 seconds. Please explain Tabor and how it plays a role in our elections.
Very good question. So the citizens in 1992 passed the best constitutional amendment here in America called the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. One of the things is if a government entity, municipality wants a tax increase, a mill levy override, anything like that, they have to go to us, the voter, for approval. Since 1992, that is when we incorporated the ballot. So everything, as we learned as young adults, is usually something rolls downhill. We know what that is. And that happens in government as well. And if you miss the 9-day rule, here's what happens. If you do not notify a school district, fire district, or a municipality that goes to the ballot, within 9 days where they submit their mill levy report in accordance with statute that goes on the tax warrant, they have the right to sue the county for that loss of revenue if approved by the taxpayer. Let's flip that page. We all said no to a number of entities. No, we want our excess Tabor revenues, did we not? And we see that on our tax statement. We're getting it back from the state of Colorado. What if the information is not provided to the citizens or that entity that's to give that money back? We as citizens have that right to sit there and sue the county per Tabor for not getting the refund that is put on our tax bills or the $800 that's coming down here at summer from the governor. But at Tabor, absolutely, I'm a strong supporter, and that's how Tabor will play on the ballot and has since 1992.
So I think that's a good description of what Tabor is, Taxpayer Bill of Rights. We're all familiar with that. I would add that what we have seen with changes on our ballots have made the Tabor questions very confusing. And so what we see now, since we had the Gallagher Amendment changed and the wording on our ballots changed, is they now have very long descriptions in the header instead of people having to go in and research, you try to figure it out. And what that does is it confuses us into voting for government entities to be able to keep our tax money. And in many cases, when we don't agree to it, what happens within a year or two is that tax initiative turns back up as a fee. So they figure out ways to keep that money. So I'm a strong proponent of Tabor. I believe that we can do what we need to do in the clerk and recorder's office. We can still hand count and report within 9 days to get those entities the information they need to be able to move forward after we've closed out the elections.
So the guys here have really explained what Tabor is. And so one of the things that I agree with Peter about is the confusion about any of the ballot initiatives that go back about it. But even beyond that, all the ballot initiatives can be, the amendments and all those kind of things can be very confusing. And so as the clerk and recorder, I think what we should do is include another page or a couple of uplinks to places where people really discuss those things, because the wording is so confusing. Do you know what you're really voting for half the time? So if we can make a place on our website and give more information so people can have multiple points of view so they can really make decisions for themselves, I think that would be a way that the clerk and recorder could help so that people can make the proper decisions for voting and for amendments.
In light of the evidence coming forth that indicates there was fraud in El Paso County in the 2020 election, what have you already been doing to fight for election integrity in our county? We will begin with Peter. I think.
Specifically, in El Paso County, I have been calling for a forensic audit of our 2020 elections. I'd like to see the same thing happen for the 2021 elections as well. As your new clerk and recorder, I would call for that immediately. And as was mentioned earlier, the ballots are necessitated to be kept for 25 months. That means December of 2022, they can be destroyed. New clerk and recorder doesn't take office until January. So the first call of action for myself would be to call for that audit and the preservation of those ballots by our current clerk and recorder. I feel like we've been at the county commission office of late, and we've heard some challenges to what the clerk and recorder has said to us, some things that have proven to not be true. And so I think we have to take a look at our elections in total because we're not getting transparency.
So I believe in big data. Again, being the computer person that I am, I think we should keep records of everything. I think that we can do that for quite an extended period of time. I also believe, just lost it. One of those days. I also believe that we can, I've lost my mind right there, so I'm not going to be able to tell you, but keeping the data is completely important. Oh, what I spoke about before, about live streaming the audits, because not everybody can be there for that, right? The audits don't happen that way, but we can live stream the audits so that if there's any questions, people can interact with, whether it be on Facebook or on the page or anything like that, they can interact and go, that doesn't look like what it is, or there can be no question because everything is going to be live streamed, then everybody would be able to see what's going on in the audit, and I definitely agree in auditing.
That is a great question, and I will tell you, as I mentioned, I'm not a fan of Senate Bill 153, and I'm actually working on legislation right now as we speak to run in next year's legislative session before our 2024 presidential election. So I will share with you some of the things that I've already been working on. Electronic voting equipment, third-party audit. The Board of County Commissioners of each county, all 64 counties, and the Secretary of State shall authorize an annual multi-layered forensic audit of all election hardware and software to include desktops, including ballot tabulation equipment used in any election. The multi-layered forensic audit authorized pursuant to this subsection of this section shall comprise 3 separate audits. Each audit shall include the following: an analysis of the hacking vulnerability of election equipment, software, and hardware, a verification that malicious malware has not been installed in the election equipment, confirmation that vote switching did not occur. And this is actually going to be done by a firm such as the United States Elections Assistance Commission, Voting System Testing Laboratories, and also a certified public accounting firm. Also, the Board of County Commissioners of each county and the Secretary of State shall each hire a certified public accounting firm or contract lawyer to review county contracts with any voting services and to verify that the leased election equipment or necessary voting contracts meet the state and county procurement regulations. And the county clerk and recorder of each county shall post the results of the audit authorized pursuant to this section of the clerk and recorder's website for all public to review. And also shall ensure the county preserves all historical election records pursuant to this section and follows the appropriate retention schedule. In addition, each county shall ensure that it can prove that such election records are digitized and backed up nightly prior to destruction. Thank you.
And in case I failed to announce this, only that one question was 90 seconds. Helping my timekeeper. All right. We'll begin with you, Lisa, and you can feel free to grab the mic closest to you now. I certainly hope.
Test.
I certainly hope not. Peter, please do me a favor and make sure it's on. There's a button at the bottom. While we do that, please prepare to answer this question. Now let's see. Go ahead and see if you...
Test.
All right. Sorry. Hey, we are top notch in this place. Everything is in excellence. We'll go ahead and use the other mic. Okay. I appreciate touring and seeing how the election system works, but a computer is essentially a brain. You might be able to see the machine, but we can't see the workings of the brain. How do you address this issue?
This is true. Computers are basically programmed to do what people tell them to do, right? So honestly, you have to make sure that you check and test everything. So in the IT industry, there's hackers. You guys have heard of hackers before. There's also white hat hackers, which are people who hack to try to break things so that you can make it better. So what you can't see inside anyone else's brain either, but you can test the systems completely and thoroughly. And hackers in specific, they are very ruthless in how they do things, and they will pull it apart and tell you completely where all of your issues are and your flaws are, and then you can go back and you can fix those. And again, everything is fallible to some extent because humans are fallible and humans programmed everything. Sorry.
So I'll just go with a quick example. So you take 4,000 ballots, you counted them by hand, you know you've got 4,000. You can run them through the Dominion voting machine and run a count, and it'll tell you it counted 4,000 of them. That's great. The difference between counting and tabulating, though, is where the brain of the operation comes in. And again, as was mentioned, the brain is what makes the determination, and it's told what to do. And so we can't see inside the computer. We can stand inside a room all day long and look and say, yes, everything was fed through properly, everything looks great, it's shiny, it's working, the lights are on, but we don't know what's going on inside, and that's the challenge with the Dominion machines.
So I'm an individual with an undergrad in information technology management and 2 master's degrees, and information technology is extremely critical. And when you're talking about transparency, one of the things is we need to take advantage of our local treasures that we have here. And I disagree with Peter in regards to you can't open a computer. You can absolutely open that thing up. And we need to utilize our cybersecurity team here that we have here headquartered in El Paso County. And one of the things is you contract with them as a third party, and you open those machines to the public, and you do it pre-election, during election, and post-election, and educate folks, and also do it on social media, showing everybody, but you can actually break that stuff down, educate folks, and have the cybersecurity team basically identify the parts, what's going on, and what they're used for.
Okay, I am generally intelligent, and I've never heard of this, but I'm assuming the 3 of you have. Would you get us out of ERIC? A, if you wanted me to say the name, you should have gone capital E, small r, small I, small. Would you get us out of ERIC? Go ahead, Peter.
So ERIC is a state, actually a multi-state electronic records keeping for voter records. The way the process works in Colorado is our clerk and recorder reports into a system called SCORE, which is a Colorado system, and then the Secretary of State takes information from SCORE and puts it into ERIC. And again, there are 31 states participating in ERIC right now. That system is a Soros-backed, designed, funded system, and the goal of ERIC is to take voter rolls and clean them up. And somehow in the state of Colorado, we have more registered voters than more voters in the system than we have registered voters. So ERIC is run by the Secretary of State. They're the ones that actually make the decision on whether we participate or not. So I'm absolutely a proponent of that, would do anything I could to support legislation or the Secretary of State in withdrawing us from that, because again, we have to have clean voter records, and that's not the best way to make that happen. We control that locally.
So one of the things that ERIC does as well is cross-state, people who live and have multiple places in multiple locations, they can't vote in multiple locations because the records and information are there as well. So it is also a stop for voter fraud. So I mean, we can't just throw out the bathwater and the baby and everything else as well. We have to find a way to clean things up and systems. If we have voter rolls that are too excessive, there's too many people, then we need to clean those up. But ERIC also makes sure that people can't vote in multiple states, right? So there are issues there as well.
So as my opponents just alluded to, Eric is actually done by the Secretary of State's office. But I will tell you, as your county assessor, is we can begin cleaning up the voter rolls immediately day one as your new clerk and recorder. I have access to assessor's data, treasurer's data, coroner's data, Pikes Peak Association of Realtors, and utility data throughout El Paso County. So today I could tell you who owns it, who's paying the taxes, who's paying the utilities, who has died, is it a multifamily, is it a P.O. box? It is a single family? Is it a commercial property? So this is information that I could pull immediately in a single query and basically put that against our voter records, and I will do that day one. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we got time to get two more in. This one will begin with Lisa. When and why did you decide to run for this office?
So I ran actually in 2018 as well. And what started it for me this time around was because I was a commissioner on the Independent Redistricting Commission. You guys heard about that, where we drew in an 8th congressional district? I participated in that on a commission of 4 independents, 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats, and we were able to come to 11 to 12 vote on a map that would work for people. So I am used to working with people from all the different parties and unaffiliated as well. And the same thing is going to happen now here for our county commissioner districts. We have to redo it in a similar manner to the way that Amendment Y and Z were. And so I'm uniquely familiar with this, as the only first time we did it was last year. So I have that unique experience, and I have that background of data, and I have that background of analysis, and I'm very well suited for the position because of that.
I decided to get in this race from a couple of different reasons. One, frustration with the 2020 election and what happened there. Went to bed at night and said, okay, things are looking good, and woke up the next morning and went, what the heck? Much like many of you in this room. Additionally, I also looked at who the candidate pool was. And honestly, I'm not a fan of people who have been in government for a long time and elected officials moving from one position to the next position to the next position just to maintain their government paycheck. So I believe a fresh perspective from somebody who's been in the private business world, a member of the community, working in the community, can bring a little different perspective on things. And operational management, again, efficiencies are where I thrive for my clients, and I see great opportunity to do that for the Clerk and Recorder's office.
Well, I mentioned in my opening statement, one of the reasons why I'm running is, one, my 72-year-old mother, and also many people that I spoke to here throughout the community that feel disenfranchised. But I will also share with you is your new clerk and recorder, day one, is they need to have the experience and the knowledge and the leadership and the commitment from day one, because day one, they have to deal with commissioner redistricting, very first day. And the Democrats are pushing to change the districts on that. The other thing is, 6 months after that clerk and recorder is sworn in, you got a presidential election. And I don't feel anybody here in this room is going to sit there and just wait for somebody to get warmed up and understand how things work. They want things done immediately from day one. And that is the reason why I'm running. Thank you very much.
All right, they gave me the evil eye, so I can't ask my Jesus Christ question. All right, so please give all 3 candidates a hand. All right, when the lights come on, showtime. Welcome. Welcome if this is your first time in Church for All Nations. If you were here for the earlier forum, you're going to get a little deja vu here because we're going to repeat some things. So if this is your first time in the building, is there anyone, this is your first time here? It is not your first time. Is it really? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, for those that it's your first time in the building, if you need to use the restroom, the doors here to your in the back left or to the very back of you. The back left, as you walk through those doors, Immediately to your left will be a men's and women's restroom. If you go out the back doors, down the hall to your left, you will see another set of bathrooms. All right? If you have a cell phone, please silence. Put it on mute. Put it on airplane mode. Put it on vibrate. We actually had someone that didn't listen to that rule in the earlier session, and their phone started ringing, and then one of the candidates wanted to jump off the stage and tackle them. So please, let's silence those devices. In the back, we actually have some books that are available for sale. One of the books is the Catechism of the Constitution. You can clap louder. Make the Constitution guy feel good. Clap louder. There's also the Founder's Bible, as well as another book written by David Barton. Okay, there is a QR code. If you'd like to sign up to receive the culture. Oh, I guess I didn't say who I am. And for someone who's the first time here, they're going, who is this guy? So my name is Ken Davis. I am a part of, see, the Sheriff's Forum people know what to do, right? They clap. The other group was like, sit down and shut up. So my name is Ken Davis. I am part of the Culture Impact team here at Church for All Nations. Welcome again. So there, we have a QR code on the back table. You can actually scan and get on our mailing list. We send out a couple of emails a week, usually with some really pertinent information. Also, if you have someone who is not able to be here, but would like to at least participate and watch this forum, please send them to cultureimpact.us. That's cultureimpact.us. They can join our YouTube channel from that website. We'd love to have them log in and hear what these three young men, I'm probably the youngest guy up here. All right, sorry. So proud of you men. All right. And you're going to be able to also ask questions. So there's the QR code as well. If you would like to ask a question, all questions will come from the audience. We have a text number. You will text in your question. That number is up on the screen. If you're watching us live, that number should be showing up for you as well. Please quickly take down the number because you may come up with a question during the forum that you'd like to ask. And we are taking questions strictly from the viewing audience. Our next meeting is on May 25th. We will have former Iowa Congressman, Steve King and Sharona Bishop, also known as America's Mom. They'll be here with Neil Schur. See, I don't think anyone in the earlier forum knew who they were. No one clapped. And then there are we're going to break some news here. There are two things that you may want to know. How many of you are planning on attending the Hold the Line conference? How many of you would like to attend the Hold the Line conference, but you didn't want to pay? Guess what? It's free. So on May 20th, Hold the Line, that's this upcoming Friday. And if you've paid, consider it a donation or demand your money back. I don't know how they're handling that, so I just sent a bunch of people back to them for refunds. Good luck to them. So, and then on June 6th, this is also breaking news. On June 6th, the Culture Impact team will be hosting a Congressional District 5 forum. Does everyone in the room know who their Congressional District 5 candidates are? You may want to be here. I think one of them was in the room. I don't know if she's still here. And then we will also be hosting the forum for the El Paso County Commissioners. So that same day, we will do a similar format for both of those groups. And I believe I am done. All right, we got the number. Let's put that number up again so that people know where to text in their questions. It's clearly on the wall, the video wall behind me. All right, so here's how this will go tonight. Each candidate will open up with 2 minutes opening statements. Then we will go into question and answers. There will be no closing statements. We will allow you at the end of the forum, you'll be able to go out to your tables, and all of you kind people will be able to go up to their tables and talk to them there. We have one request. We request that you be respectful as a viewing audience. So you can hold up your sign. I'm okay with that. But if you yell out, "You're a liar," or anything that has happened at the State of Union address, if you come in here in all white, we're probably going to put you out. So, we're not tearing up people's speeches. We're doing none of that. So please be respectful to the candidates. I don't know how funny that was as it actually happened. Was it funny when it happened? I'm just saying. All right. And so please be respectful. Be respectful to one another. And be respectful to the three men on the stage. And so with that, we're going to open it up. We'll start with Todd. And Todd will give his 2-minute statement. Each one of you should have a microphone, and we should be in good shape with those. So go ahead and grab your mic. 2 minutes. Our timekeeper is right in front of you, Miss Ann. And when your 2 minutes is up, she will wave a flag. If you continue to talk, I'm going to hit the death button, and you'll be muted. All right, so take it away.
Hey, good evening. My name is Todd Watkins. I'm a candidate for El Paso County Sheriff. Thank you. I am a Army veteran, a retired Border Patrol agent, retired as an assistant chief from our headquarters in Washington, D.C. after 24 years. I am a husband, a father, and in about 3 weeks, I'll be a grandfather. So rather than give a rundown of my biography, we've got packets out at the tables. Hopefully everybody grab one. You can see where I've been, what I've done, and what my qualifications for the job are. And I suspect that there will be ample questions that will elicit those types of responses anyway. So I'll tell you what my beliefs are, where my ideology is, and it relates to this job very closely. The only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. We are at a time now where good men must stand up. We need leaders. We need leaders to take back our local government. Local government is the way that we will turn this republic around. This is how we save this republic. We can do this. I believe in the founding documents, the founding principles of this nation. I do not believe that they are living documents. I do not believe that they are malleable. I do not believe that they are fungible. I believe that the men who wrote those documents are brilliant, and those documents are as nearly perfect as it is the Bible. We must live by those documents. It is the sheriff's job as a constitutional sheriff, the last line of defense for your God-given rights, to stand by those principles. I will protect your rights. I will protect the rights of everybody in this county. I will stand behind you and allow you to protect your rights in as much as I would stand behind the deputies who do that.
Good evening. I'm Joe Roybal, and I'm running to be your county sheriff. I have served you for over 26 years, and I have arisen through the ranks from deputy to sergeant, lieutenant, commander, bureau chief, and now your undersheriff. I have served under 3 county sheriffs that you all elected. They have done some things that have helped our community, and there's some things that each of them could have done better. I had a front row seat to those things. I'm aware of those things that we can do better, that we must improve upon. I'm aware of those things that have worked well for us. Under the previous sheriff, I was the legislative liaison, and I was at the Capitol testifying against those bills. If you all remember back, the high-capacity magazine bills, the assault weapons, I was there with the sheriff testifying against that. I swore to protect the rights of the citizens of Paso County since 1995, when I was sworn in as a deputy sheriff after graduating the academy. I've sworn to protect those constitutional rights, and I've done it. I'm not just saying I raise my right hand and I will do it. I have done those things. I've argued against the legislatures who are putting those bills against our rights. I've protected you, and I'm asking you to allow me to serve you for 4 more years this time. I've always led with people first, the example given by my parents. I've been a conservative my entire life. I've been taught by my parents, you never ask for a handout, you never beg, you earn everything that you are given. And that's how I've lived my life, and that's how I expect others in the United States to do. Don't ask for handouts. You earn everything that you have. Thank you.
Well, I'm Greg Maxwell, and I believe that I am the change that's needed in El Paso County as your next sheriff. I believe I am the strongest conservative, Christian, Republican, constitutional sheriff in this race without a question. I believe I have the experience in the Law Enforcement Bureau and outside the Law Enforcement Bureau. I've had to do things that people in bureaucracy maybe don't understand. I've owned a construction business in this community for 16 years, having to get things done, and nothing was ever handed to me. I've had to start every year at zero. What I mean by that is a budget was never handed to me. Had to be creative, had to be innovative, had to think outside the box. My experience inside the Law Enforcement Bureau, I believe I'm the only candidate that has truly came out to your homes and investigated crime, whether it be assaults, drug use, motor vehicle thefts, deaths, regardless what that is, in a patrol capacity. I believe I'm the only one that can actually say that. I love this community. I've served this community for free for over 16 years. I've probably given over 15,000 hours of free service to this community. I was also our full-time Special Operations Lieutenant overseeing some of the most important units that we have in this community. So I believe I have the experience not just inside the office, but outside the office, working with the community. I also started a foundation when everybody said it couldn't be done to serve El Paso County Sheriff's Office when they couldn't afford certain equipment and different things. We've purchased quite a bit of things, even including this last dog that was shot and killed in the line of duty. So I do believe that I have the know-how, the experience inside and outside the 4 walls of working with the community, listening to the community. I have a strong ear to the ground. I already have those relationships inside and outside of law enforcement, as well as within our community. And I believe that makes me the most well-rounded candidate in this race. I'm excited. I look forward to being the sheriff of El Paso County. I look forward to serving the people. I believe that's what the sheriff is a servant of the community, and that's what I'll do, is serve the community. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make this easy on myself. I got a little, tricky earlier. I'm not going to do that this time, so we're just going to start. The first question you will answer, and we'll work our way around, making sure everyone gets the opportunity to go first. The middle mic, I would ask that both you, Todd, and Joe, share. We're having some issues with the far mic, okay? And you have 60 seconds to answer each of these questions, and they are coming in fast and furious. But since I'm in charge of the questions, I will start with a constitutional question. How do you feel about the 10th Amendment? We'll begin with you, Greg.
I feel that all the amendments are important. And so as a constitutional sheriff, or believing in the Constitution, I believe the first problem we have with the Constitution is we've taken God out of it. That's one of the first sentences in there, is it said it's on your God-given rights. So I think every single one of the amendments are important, not just the 10th Amendment, but every single one of them, because that's what gives us our freedoms, our abilities. That's why it was set. I believe that I understand those values probably as well as anybody, but I think we need to keep God in it if we want it to work. That's how I feel. Thank you.
Each amendment is equally important. If you start with the first and work your way through the 10th, you cannot place value on one over the other. If you lose one, you might as well discard the rest. So how do you protect all of them equally? You start with the first and all the way working through it. You can't say, well, the 10th is more important than the first than the second. I am the vice president of the Pikes Peak Farms Coalition. I've already said I've testified against the bad legislation on the second. The red flag bill violates the 4th Amendment, not the second. So where do you start and where do you stop? You start by defending every single one of those amendments of the Constitution, not just picking out one and deciding, well, that's the one that's important to me. Because if you do that, then you're truly not defending the Constitution. I will not pick which one I choose to defend, because all of them are equal and all of them are important for the citizens in our county.
So for the record, I hold the 9th and 10th Amendment is equal. I think that they're umbilical corded together. You can't, I kind of wish that they would have been combined, not to question the brilliance of our founders. But the 10th Amendment is what limits government. That is what puts the federal government in its box, and it clearly illustrates how far outside of the rails that were set for our government has gone. That is what gives us it's when the Bill of Rights was ratified in 1791. It's the 9th and 10th Amendments that clearly illustrate the supremacy of we, the people, as the owners and the governed, the will of the governed to be governed. We are the ones who own the government. The people created the states created the Constitution. The federal government did not exist prior to the Constitution. So it's the 10th Amendment that establishes we, the people, as the ones who hold the true power.
All right, Joe's ready. Good. All right, what is your position on concealed carry laws?
First and foremost, I believe in constitutional carry. We have a God-given right. Our founding fathers gave us the right to carry. However, in our state, in order to be legal, law-abiding citizens, not to become criminals, we have to have a permit given by the sheriff so we can carry legally. When I worked for the last sheriff, I was a sergeant responsible for the concealed carry program. When that bad legislation was being rammed down our throats, we were being inundated with requests so that law-abiding citizens would not become criminals for carrying concealed. I modified the hours, had people working overtime, holidays to meet the demand for you all so you do not become criminals. I've made that easy, I've made that accessible, and I've already said I would charge the bare minimum that the state requires to have those permit, because we have to pay the state. They're not going to come down on those. I will charge the bare minimum. I don't need additional funding for the staff to provide and make you legal carrying. Thank you.
Here's your carry permit. So I'm going to agree with Joe. You issue the permits as cheaply as you can according to state law. Understand, I will treat El Paso County as a concealed carry environment. You'll need that CCW if you leave this county. But the Second Amendment, I believe it's the third shortest amendment in all 27. 27 words if you include the articles of speech, the, that sort of thing. But it's unequivocal. I don't understand why we quibble so much about the right to bear arms. It's the last four words that say it all, right? Shall not be infringed. There's really no conditional clauses in there. That's how I view it. So if you want to ask any other questions about how I feel about your right to bear arms, there you go. Shall not be infringed.
Well, I'm going to be in agreement with the other two gentlemen as well, because I do believe in a concealed carry, a constitutional carry, and like they said, I'd make it as easy as possible, because it should be. We should have that right to bear arms, because that's our God-given right. It's our God-given constitutional right. I love firearms. I'm an avid collector. I'm one of our instructors for our office. My daughters all shoot. It's a hobby that we all like to do, and I think we should all be allowed to do it. And so I do believe in that. Plus, it's our right to be able to protect ourselves. And so I do think that's right. I do believe, like what Todd said, it says in the Constitution we should be allowed to do it. But by the same token, there has to be something in place, and I think it is our job as the sheriff to make that as easy on the people as possible so they don't feel like it's something they can't get or something that's hard to get. We should make it easier, and we should make it as cost-effective as possible as well. So I agree in all those things that were said, and I would be a proponent for that as well. I believe there's 26 states that have already went to a concealed, just a constitutional concealed carry, so it's being done, so I think we could probably look at any of those and find an easier solution. So that's what I would do.
Todd, you'll be first. How would you coordinate an investigation that requires federal law enforcement involvement?
Okay, so in relationships between governments, I believe, since we already covered the 10th Amendment, that it is the local government that has supremacy, because it is the local government that is closest to the people that created the government. Any relationship with federal governments, I've written these types of relationships, I've written these agreements, I've managed them I was a federal agent for 24 years. Those relationships must be codified in a covenant type of document. We call them memoranda of agreement, memoranda of understanding, intergovernmental agreements. The federal government supports local law enforcement. That's how I will view this. That's how I will run this. When the federal government is done supporting me, then the federal government is done in that area. I will not allow federal encroachment into our local affairs at all.
I have signed those agreements that Mr. Watkins was talking about. And when the federal government agency comes in and says, we're investigating one of your citizens, Sheriff, I want to see those documents. I want my detectives to review those documents and look for that probable cause and the reason why they're in our county. We must work together with our partners. We've had 2 major cases recently solved because of aid with our federal partners. They have resources that we all pay taxes for. We pay for those resources, that equipment. Why not use what we've paid for? So have them come in and help us. I'm grateful they were available to us, and we solved those 2 major cases, one over 10 years old, missing person, with the help of our federal partners. But when they come in to investigate one of our citizens, I want to see the document. I want to see the probable cause. I want to see why they're investigating one of our people. And if we're not satisfied, ask them to produce more. Ask them to do more investigation and convince me they should be here.
Okay, we appreciate the enthusiasm. There are 2 cameras right in the middle of the room. We'd ask that if you have a sign that you are excited about holding up, that you no longer do so, because it is actually messing up the camera shot for those that are watching online. Okay, Greg, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So, like the other gentleman has said, I think our federal partners are important, but you have to have a relationship and those understandings in place before something happens. You don't want to wait until something happens and then try to hope and pray that you have something in place. So those intergovernment organizations, or those understandings, those MOUs, or all those things we have in place, I've seen them as well. I think it's crucial we sit down and review each one of them and make sure that something appropriate is in place for those. Like Joe had said here, they've helped us out tremendously. It's a resource that we have. We'd be silly not to utilize that. I already have those relationships. I'm proud of those relationships, and I would continue to make sure that we use them as needed, but I'd also make sure I had a seat at those tables so they won't overreaching in areas that they don't need to be in. We have perfectly capable investigative capabilities of our own, but there'll be times where there'll be things that needed for us to be able to utilize those sources to solve things like they've set up here before. And so I'm a proponent of using every resource I can to keep the people safe, and that's what I would do.
What will you do to better the morale in EPSO?
Well, I would start by talking to the people that have the issue, right? Talk to the line level people and see what's going on. I don't know how you serve something if you're not listening to it. So I would meet with each one of those, find out what their problems are, and I would also try to find creative solutions to make sure that their problems don't become, a reality to where they want to leave the job for sometimes a lesser paying job or just going to a sister agency. We have a lot of folks that are leaving this job. They're not leaving the particular job, they're just leaving an agency, then they're going to another agency. So I'd find out why they're doing that and why they don't want to work in El Paso County, and I'd try to retain those. I think we can do that by telling some of the good stories they're doing and work hard to make sure they feel supported, empowered to do a very difficult job, and make sure that their voices are heard. And I think if you do that, you're able to retain some of those people and you can start working on the morale. But I think that starts as me as the sheriff, making sure I model that behavior, that I'm listening to their concerns, and actually caring for what their needs are. And that's what I would do as the sheriff. Thank you.
There are 3 reasons why people are leaving the sheriff's office. And it's not just El Paso County Sheriff's Office that coined the phrase, the Great Resignation. We are experiencing it in all industries across our country. But those reasons are events that happen outside of our state that bring a bad name to law enforcement. It is COVID that's causing people to be afraid to work in the environment. Their families don't want them to do that. So what I've done, we do exit interviews of everybody who leaves. And as the undersheriff, I have challenged command staff. Said when somebody leaves, let's not wait for human resources to do an exit interview and find out why they left. I expect you all to know why they're leaving. And I want to know from you why they're leaving and what you have done to try to correct that and retain our people. I've already placed that demand. I don't have to wait to be voted in. I'm already doing that to make sure our people have a voice, their voice in their concerns, and that we're doing something to address it. Thank you.
I'll start by not hiring my friends and family. Nepotism and cronyism are absolutely corrosive, absolutely toxic, and a morale killer. I've seen it in my own agency. I also want to point out that when morale is good, the leader gets a big gold star and a smiley face. If morale is bad, it's absolutely the leader's fault, 100% the leader's fault. Relieve toxic, inefficient, destructive leadership. The senior leader has the duty, the responsibility to relieve those leaders that are destroying morale between him and the troops. Listen to the troops. I did at least 3 tours through headquarters. I've been at sector headquarters, national headquarters. I can assure you that there has never been a good idea that came out of headquarters. You listen to the men and women doing the job. They'll tell you what's broke and how to fix it. You give them the bandwidth and the top cover to make that agency run efficiently.
By the way, if you send a question that I deem a little abusive towards any of the candidates, you can rest assured that question won't get asked. I won't apologize. This is just not going to happen. But this one may be abusive. We'll see. Would you accept an endorsement from someone who supports the red flag law?
Actually, I have recently accepted an endorsement from a sheriff up in Douglas County. We don't always agree on everything. I have stated my position time and time again on the red flag law. There's a misconception. It is not a violation of the Second Amendment. It's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. Now, I understand why that particular person supported it. He was concerned for one of his deputies that he lost. My concern is the violation of everybody's rights here in El Paso County. And I can tell you, since that law has been passed, we have served no orders for red flag. 0. It's a non-issue. It will continue to be a non-issue. And if I receive one of those across my desk, I will go to the judge and explain it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment right of my citizen, and it will not be served.
So, no, I would not accept. Did it cut up? I would not accept endorsements from anybody or any organization that is not in lockstep with my agenda, my platform, my ideology, my philosophy. Red flag law is unconstitutional, patently, clearly unconstitutional. Second, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments. There are due process issues in there. There are probable cause, search and seizure issues in there. Shall not be infringed. I would never serve one of those. That law never should have been passed, and it absolutely must be nullified by everybody from the judges who ought not ever sign them, down to the sheriff, to any patrol officer or deputy that would be instructed to serve that. It's an unconscionable, reprehensible law.
No, I would not accept an endorsement from anybody that stands for the red flag law because I don't believe it's needed. And like these gentlemen have said, I believe it's unconstitutional. I think it violates rights. And more importantly, I think it puts the deputies at risk that go out to serve those. So why would I put our men and women in harm's way of serving something that could potentially get them harmed? That hasn't been mentioned yet. I think that's the most important thing, because I would never put my folks in harm's way by serving something like that. We haven't served any in El Paso County. I'm proud of that. I'd make sure that we don't serve any in El Paso County because it's not needed. If we have a job to do and we need to write a warrant to go serve somebody, we have means and processes in place. I've already been a part of those before. We can write an appropriate warrant. We can go do our job, and we can go out to what we need to do. So there's ways to do that. We don't need a red flag law. We also don't need to jeopardize other people's lives, including the citizens' lives, when we go out to do something like that. So I think it's very inefficient. It's poorly written, and nor would I support it or would allow any endorsements of anybody that supports it either.
I love this interview question. What is the one time you've been tested where you've had to make a difficult decision that affects the public based on your principles when it's not the most popular decision? In other words, how will we know you will keep your campaign promises?
And we get 1 minute for this?
Yes.
So, let's see, there was, I was serving as a watch commander in Arizona, and a fledgling new supervisory border patrol agent, so about a sergeant, performed a pit maneuver. It's the bumper cars move where you hit the fleeing vehicle and spin it around. And he was raked over the coals by my peers and even my superiors that he had employed lethal force when lethal force was not required. And I pushed back strenuously. I think I saved the guy's job and argued that it was not, they were not reading the policy for how we were to employ that because of so many characteristics of that incident, that scene, the location, the speed, the time, and the nature of what was in front of them. So I think those who would have, who do write my reviews and my performance appraisals, I stood up to them and I got them to see reason and apply logic to the situation. Although it was a difficult few days.
Okay, well, first of all, look at my website. I don't owe any favors, and nor do I have any promises to anybody. I don't owe any favors, nor will I. I believe I serve the people, and that's who I want to serve. That's who I want endorsing me. I've been put in many situations. When I was on our crime reduction unit, we had a U.S. Marshal come out that was wanting to serve a warrant, but the warrant had the wrong address and several other things that were ineffective in it. We didn't serve that warrant. We sent him away and said, no, it's not an appropriate warrant, nor will we go out and mess around with it. So I've already had to do that, and I'm proud of that. And I would stand in the gap any time for the people to make sure that their rights are served correctly. I know what that looks like. I've done that. That's who I am my whole life. That's who I've always been, and I'll continue to be that as the sheriff overseeing the office. So I love the question, and thank you.
I'll give you two opposing examples. One, I was given an investigation by a high-ranking official, and was asked as the lieutenant for internal affairs to conduct an investigation on one of our staff members. I looked at it and I determined almost immediately there was no violation of policy, that this was not going to be an investigation, there was no need for it. I returned my verdict back and my decision back to that member, and that's not the answer they wanted to hear. They said, you need to do the investigation. So there's no policy violation here. There's nothing here. I won't do it. They threatened to fire me. They threatened to demote me, and yet I did not do it because I stood by my people. Conversely, somebody violated policy and caused harm to one of our citizens. This person had a family, but unfortunately, they stepped outside of the oath that they provided and hurt one of our citizens. I was forced to terminate, and I did that holding our employee accountable, defending our citizen.
So you went first last time, yes, Todd? So Greg will be first. How will you deal with illegal immigrants who may be flown into El Paso County? I mean, who may show up in El Paso County? Sorry, you misread the question.
Well, I do think that's a grave concern when people are flown in, bussed in, drove in, or wherever they're brought from. So Jason Maxwell, the sheriff in Teller County, has done a pretty good job of that. The ACLU has come after him multiple times on his 287G program, and he's done a very good job of making sure that we don't have that kind of activity in Teller County. Well, I don't know why we can't model something similar down here and make sure that we don't have those types of issues. So I think it's something the sheriff should be concerned about, but he should also look for folks that are effective and find effective ways to keep that kind of harm or keep that kind of activity from happening in our county. So he's a good friend of mine. I would definitely ask him because he's been very successful at it. So that's what I would do.
There are laws in place where people who are not born in our country, people who want to come here, can come here legally. There are already laws written. Every law should be obeyed, whether you're a citizen or not. And those people who enter illegally should be bound by that law, and I will enforce it. When I was a deputy, I wrote the policy, I wrote the SOP for immigration. I did the inaugural transports of our people to get them out of our county and our state. I did those things. I know how to do it. I wrote the policy. Currently, we need to do much better. Very beginning, remember I said I've worked for 3 sheriffs. Some things worked well, some things we can improve on. Well, I've identified those things that we can improve on. But everybody must follow the law. You're not above the law just because you're not a citizen of this country. In my opinion, you should be held to a higher standard if you enter our country and follow our laws, follow our customs, and do as we do.
I think I know a couple things about immigration law. So here we come with the 10th Amendment again. The federal government has already abdicated its role in that contractual obligation to secure our borders and to defend our sovereignty. They absolutely cannot, these are my former overlords, they cannot foist upon us in our local community illegal aliens. They're illegal aliens, that's what they're called. They're not undocumented immigrants, they're not refugees or migrants or whatever. They're illegal aliens, that's what it says in Title 8. So, I will not allow them to debark. These buses, these planes, they can pack them right up and move right along. I might not be able, as under local law, state law, to effect a deportation or a removal, but I can surely have them move right along out of this county. We're under no obligation to take these people in. That is so far beyond the scope of the federal government, I don't even know where to start.
What changes need to happen in the sheriff's department?
First and foremost is stop people from leaving. Keep them there. It is not a recruiting issue, it's a retention issue, and I've identified that. We are hiring enough people. We are recruiting people. We've just graduated the largest academy since 2017. People are coming here. The problem is we're not keeping them. And that's why I demand the staff to find out why people are leaving and to change that. And it's accountability. Accountability through the entire rank structure. We hold deputies accountable. We hold line-level staff accountable. Everybody should be held accountable. Nobody is exempt from policy, and everybody will be held to that same policy. I think that's the problem. We have people who have not been held accountable, and there are no secrets. Everybody in the office knows it, and they ask, well, if I'm held accountable, how come the other person isn't? We will hold everybody to the same standard and hold everybody accountable.
It's morale, 100% morale. This isn't going to be very different from the question that I answered earlier. It's the leader's responsibility to improve morale, stop with the corrosive and toxic hiring practices, merit-based promotions, and again, if you talk to the troops, they'll tell you what's wrong. That's where you start to fix things. You have to give them ownership in the organization. This is not a private for-profit industry. This is nothing short of defending your God-given rights. If we don't give proper care and feeding to those who are going to defend your God-given rights, we're lost. We're completely lost. I've seen this problem before. I've seen this problem at various stations and sectors that I've worked out throughout this country. It's not hard to identify, but it takes a lot of fortitude and perseverance to overcome it. But we improve morale, and like the undersheriff said, yeah, it's a retention problem. Make this the place that they want to work.
Well, obviously, if we know it's a problem, we need to address it, and I don't believe it's being addressed correctly. I mean, if they're leaving at an all-time record high, yes, we should find out what they're doing, and I do agree if listening to the people, that's how you'll find out. But we also have to have a process in place for people to apply. And what I mean by that is we might want to make sure there's actually an application for some of those positions that are void of people. And we don't have that in place, and we might also open up a lateral process so that somebody in another agency that it's doing a good job, because all of our people are going to different agencies. So apparently these agencies have lateral processes. We should have one too, so we should start attracting, qualified people that want to live in El Paso County. It's a great place to live, to come and live here. So there's several things we need to do, and as a business owner, I look at things that way. Why aren't we fixing some of the problems that are there? Because they're kind of glaring, instead of just trying to say, well, let's hope and pray and maybe have an academy that's a good size. But if people are leaving and 2 to 3 times the number of your academy, you might want to start trying something different. I would do that. Thank you.
Greg, I believe you're first this time. What are your thoughts on ghost guns?
Man, I'll tell you, I mean, I can't believe they keep creating more and more ways for folks to have weapons that harm people. I've always said, I'm a construction guy, I own a construction company. I've always said, the saw's not what hurts you, but sticking your finger on the saw blade sure does. So I don't care what kind of gun somebody creates, if we don't have laws in place for people that are creating these guns or doing things illegal or having them illegal, they'll find ways to do it. So I'm not a proponent for people to be able just to make guns any way that they choose necessary. I'm not a proponent of that. Because I think it's dangerous, because then the wrong people end up in those hands. We had over 1,200 stolen guns, I believe, in El Paso County in 1 year. That's a lot of stolen guns, right? So I don't think we should start thinking of other ways and avenues to put more guns in the hands of people that don't need them. So I'm not a big proponent of that.
I don't believe there should be a documentation or a collection of ownership of guns. I don't believe we should register our weapons. Don't need to. We have a right to carry those weapons. The government doesn't have a right to know what we own. I'm not going to say this publicly, but maybe not all of mine are known by the federal government. Your grandfather. Time in. So why would, and I will tell you, for concealed handgun program in El Paso County, we don't give that information out. We don't give it to the federal government. We don't collect that information to hand it over. We just do not do it. Nor do I believe the government should understand or have that data saying, yep, I know what Joe owns. It's none of their damn business. It's mine.
I've never met a gun that committed a crime. Ever. No, the government has no business telling you what you can and can't make. Ghost gun, I think we need to worry about ghost voters, not ghost guns. So yeah, and creating registries of gun owners. That's up in Douglas County. My son works up there. Totally unconstitutional. That needs to be stopped, and the people that created that need to be held accountable. Your property is your business. You have a right to life, liberty, and property. Your 3 unalienable, God-given rights. The government was created to secure those rights. That's a single purpose of government, not to crawl into your lives and start making records of what you own, what you create, what your property is. Don't hurt people. We got no problems.
Todd, sorry, but all the one-liners, those are mine. Okay. All right. What is your stance on medical mandates?
Well, I will tell you, I will share some private medical information with you. And this says it all. I don't just speak it, I walk it, I live it. I myself, my wife, and my son who still remains at home are not vaccinated. I will not allow the government to come in and stick a needle in somebody. Guess what? That's assault. I don't care who does it, that's assault. That's how much I believe in it, that I'm not going to get vaccinated, my wife and my son. And two of us actually got COVID, and guess what? We're all still here, we're all still healthy, we're all still alive. That's my stand.
No. No to mandates, no to edicts, no to orders. This gets into a much longer conversation and a discussion which I'm happy to have with you outside of the 1 minute that I'm allowed to talk about this for. But it has to do with the administrative powers, and it's not just medical mandates. There are all sorts of other regulatory and administrative powers that the government has at the federal and state level, and even I see it at the county level too. That is completely out beyond their scope of their purpose. No one can tell you what to do medically. There is no provision for a pandemic in our rights, the securing of our rights. I would never enforce any of those. And if anybody wants for the sheriff's office or any law enforcement to embark on a campaign of education, I would educate you to not comply.
Absolutely against it as well. I don't believe we should be in the business of that. We should be in the business of protecting people from harm, right? So I agree with what the undersheriff said here. If somebody sticks a needle in you, it's an assault. But I also believe that people should have personal choice too. If somebody does want to receive a vaccine, that's their God-given right too. Go get the vaccine. I don't care who's up on the stage vaccinated or who's in the crowd vaccinated. It's really none of my business. I do believe we should have that choice to do that if we wish to, and if there's something produced that we want to be able to get for ourselves or our family, we should have the right to do that. But I think it's silly that we're even talking about some of that, but it's not silly because it's happening to us. So that's a sad that I should say more like it's sad than silly that we're even having to discuss this in a sheriff forum. But we are, and it's really it's a shame that we got all this stuff going on with fentanyl and everything else, and we're talking about a vaccine. So I think it's silly, and no, I don't believe in mandates.
You wacky anti-vaxxers. People are crazy. Get the jab. While I don't. All right. Do you feel that crimes of poverty and mental health are overburdening the criminal justice system? How would you remedy this, if so?
Say the first part of that.
Do you feel that crimes of poverty and mental health are overburdening the criminal justice system?
So, yeah, mental health should not be a law enforcement issue. That they do not ask for law enforcement solutions where a law enforcement problem does not involve. Do not invite the government. We just had a question about health care. Don't bring the government into health care. That's why we have these problems in the first place. It is absolutely overburdening our criminal justice system. That's not going to be an overnight fix. I believe if you talk to people who work in the jails in various places in this country, I think you'll find that roughly half of the inmates in there are probably mental health patients. This is a community problem that needs a community solution. So as elected officials, sheriffs, county commissioners, representatives need to mobilize their communities to start solving these problems. That's going to be a long fix. The government put us in a really bad situation with this. But yeah, do not invite the government into your lives like this and ask them to solve a problem that they created.
Yeah, obviously it's a big problem. I think you can go on any corner and you can see all kinds of activity like that, but we've made our state a fairly easy state for that to happen in. So I think we need to look at resources that we have, work with the community, look at other community leaders, and look at other states that are doing a good job at that, because it's not going away, right? So we know it's here and it's real. It's everywhere you go. You can go to any store, any street corner, and you can see that we struggle with that. You can also come down and visit the jail, which you'll probably hear the undersheriff say it's the largest mental health facility that we have in the county, and it shouldn't be, because it's not a mental health facility, it's a jail. And so they don't have the stuff to care for them there, and I don't believe we should be operating in that way. We shouldn't be in that business. We should find creative solutions, but we're going to have to start thinking outside the box to find those. We're not going to be able to repeat the same thing over and over and hope that mental health problem goes away. That's not going to work. Obviously, it's not working, and it hasn't worked for quite some time, and it keeps getting worse. So if it's getting worse and it's not working, we might want to start thinking of some creative solutions. That's what I would look at.
Absolutely, that jail, your jail, is the largest mental health facility in the state. The state hospital has a waiting list. We can't wait for the state hospital to take our people that have the need. Over 60% of the population inside our jail needs mental health interdiction, over 60%. What we have done, the Sheriff's Office, we started a program called Behavioral Health Connect, and that's where we've partnered with UC Health, talk about innovative, where we send a deputy with a counselor to a call that has been deemed a mental health call. Now, historically, if parents have an adult child, say they can't function outside of the home, and so they live with the parents, and they're in crisis, and they start damaging things, or they hurt one of their parents, we respond, we arrest them, we take them to jail. That's what we used to do. What we do now is we respond with the counselor, we de-escalate the situation, and we evaluate it. Sometimes those people must go to jail. Most of the time, they go to a facility and receive mental health care. Over 90% effective avoiding jail and providing the mental health care those people need while keeping families safe.
See, everyone's as confused as I am. Who went first this last time? Thank you, Todd. See? There you go. So you won't go first this time. All right, Joe. Oh, yeah, we'll go Joe. It doesn't even matter at this point. Everyone's sleepy. All right, so there's been rapid growth in Falcon. With it has come increased crime. How do you plan to support that community?
Really simple. I'm working on a project with Falcon Substation. I'm thinking about changing the name to the Northeast Station. We know that Falcon in eastern El Paso County is the largest growing population in the county. We received some land for free from the fire department. We had an opportunity to get it for free. It is valued at $3 million. Why would we not take advantage of that? We got some land for free. By the end of June, we're going to have a temporary substation already out there on that property. I've identified funding because I know the budget to increase staffing. Some people will say, well, if you don't have the staffing, why would you build it? We anticipate the growth. Why wait till it's too late? We're already there. I have identified the funding without raising taxes. I don't need to ask you for any more money. I can increase staffing with the current budget and staff that facility to service northern and eastern El Paso County.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Yeah, forward deployed. In lieu of that, that wasn't possible. Take home rides for deputies, incentivize the living being out there. No need to come in and muster in downtown and then spend a half hour, 40 minutes to get out to Falcon. I live in Peyton. I know how far out that is. But if I could bring up another topic since we talked about the rapid growth, I have a master's degree in emergency management and homeland security. What's happening with this growth is it is unchecked, and the infrastructure necessary to sustain and maintain that rapid growth of population is not there. Highway 24 is a two-lane road. I look at this from the perspective of emergency management. The sheriff's the fire warden, and kind of dovetails into that. That's a big problem. This is something that I think whoever is a sheriff, we need to talk to the commissioners about rolling that back and slowing that roll down a little bit before we're going to have a real big problem.
I think having substations are great, and I think we should have them in any area where we have that kind of growth. I'm all for that. I've got misquoted on this multiple times. And so I love having substations in other areas, but I'd be more happy if we had people to put in them. I really would. Because I think that's the answer, is to make sure that we have people to serve in those areas, because we already have some substations that we don't fill. We already have units that were out east that we don't have anymore. So if we're getting rid of things and we don't have people, then yes, we need to be forward-thinking and think of that. I agree with what Mr. Watkins was saying about emergency management. I've attended several of those things. We have the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management that looks at those, what they call, evacuation procedures and stuff. I participated in many of those drills. I just got finished doing 3 of the town halls with CSFD on wildland fire, what we're going to do with that, because yes, the sheriff is the fire warden. So we should be concerned about that. We got neighborhoods that are growing out of control, and like Mr. Watkins said, there's a 2-lane road. That's something we should be concerned about. So as the sheriff, I would look at all that. I'd look at filling the substation, and I'd also participate with our partners to make sure we're safe out there.
We've had several questions come in. I believe this one pretty much encapsulates all of them. What will you do if the FBI infringes on citizens' constitutional rights?
Well, we can take the 3-letter acronym out of it. It would be the same thing if anybody infringes on anybody's civil rights. So I don't know why we just got to say the FBI. Why don't we just say it's anybody that infringes on anybody's rights? I don't care if it's the ATF, the U.S. Marshals. I don't care if it's our border protection people. I don't care who it is. If anybody infringes on anybody's rights, they should be held to the same law and accountability and dealt with swiftly. And so you do that by having relationships with all those entities and all those acronyms, and you make sure you have a seat at the table so they know how you control your county before any of that happens, instead of waiting until it does happen. I already have those relationships. I'm not worried about them infringing on any of those rights. I don't think that will happen in our county if we have a strong sheriff in place that understands that. I believe I am that sheriff, so that doesn't spook me at all. I'm not worried about that.
Like I said earlier, I've signed those agreements. I know those agreements. I've worked with agencies, pick any 3-letter acronym, cutting down marijuana grows. I've said earlier, you look at the paperwork. You ask for the documentation. I assure you, there's none of those agencies going to come in El Paso County and operate without the sheriff knowing. We have those great relationships. They are not going to do that. It is a non-issue. If it does happen, because that's the question, I'm going to ask. I want that documentation. If they're outside of the law, I work with the district attorney and say they're outside of the law and stop it from happening. But it's just not going to happen based on our relationships and agreements that we have in place.
Yeah, the nature of the interaction between us and them needs to be codified from day one. And like the undersheriff said, you review the documents. I want everybody to understand that anybody at any level of government infringes on or violates any of your rights, that person is subject to arrest and prosecution. I'll do it. I worked for these people. Don't tell me there's nothing to worry about. I've seen behind the curtain. There's something to worry about. The ministry of ministry, the ministry of truth. Let's just call it what it is. My former overlords at DHS have stood up organizations to examine domestic terrorism. Guess who that is? Yeah, I'm fine with working with the feds when they can prove to me that they respect their oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and take their rightful place in securing your rights.
And you clap, you almost got the mute. No, very good. All right, I love this question. And
So do
Todd,
I.
you will go first. What sets you apart from the other candidates?
I'm about as grassroots as grassroots can get. I'm the proverbial outsider that actually this county needs. This county needs outside perspective, people that have not been inside these organizations, these entities, to actually provide leadership with a fresh eye. Everything needs to get changed. We need to turn the ship in the right direction. I can do it. I have a much broader worldview from my service in the federal government and from around this country. I can see what's happening. Hate to quote Bob Dylan, but you don't got to be a weatherman to see which way the wind is blowing, and I kind of see myself as a meteorologist here. So, yeah, I've served at just about every level of command in a 20,000 plus agency.
Well, I think what sets me apart is I've got the knowledge inside, I've got the credentials necessary from day one to take over that office, and then also I've owned a business, so I've been able to think outside of the walls of bureaucracy. My only job has not been working within a system where I have never had to actually go out and earn something, create something from scratch. I've done that. I mean, I've built buildings just like this. Imagine as a builder, if you just don't talk to anybody, I could build this building without any knowledge at all of talking to anyone. But if you know how to unite people, that's what I know how to do. And I'd be able to unite enough people in this community to get things done when nobody else can find a solution, or repeat the same bureaucratic type of activity that you see going on a lot of times, because that's what they do, is they find things that don't work and they usually repeat it over and over and over for years on end. I would find creative solutions to serve this community like it deserves to be served, and I believe I'm the sheriff candidate that has that experience starting from day one. I wouldn't need to get up to speed on that, so thank you.
There are three things that govern what we do as people. That's the why we do the things, that is what we do, and that is how we do it. I don't have enough time to discuss my why, but my why is you. This is my home. I was born and raised here. I care for this community. I love this community. The what, go to my website, roybalforsheriff.com. Those are my promises. Every person up here are making you promises. We have the easy job. We're going to tell you what we're going to do. Hopefully, we know how we're going to do it. I don't break promises. I'm a man of my word. Everything I've promised, I have the how. I know how to get things done. I will do those things. I will not break any of my promises. Do your homework. You all have the hard choice of deciding who's the best candidate to serve you. We are three choices up here. You have the hard job. Take your time, do your homework, and find out who has the how. Who is going to get it done, and who is going to have broken promises to our citizenry. It's not me.
Hey, baby formula texter, I said earlier, all the one-liners are mine. Keep your baby formula text to yourself. All right, we will begin with Joe. What is the current state of gangs and drug trafficking in our county?
I've sat on some recent panels. I can tell you when I was in Metro Vice Narcotics, 60 seconds is enough time. When we made marijuana, I won't say legal, but we're laxed on it. We've changed our attitude as a society. We invited the cartels in. I investigated Laotians, Russians, and Cuban cartels who are taking our water, our resources for marijuana grows in all areas of El Paso County. We took down a marijuana grow in Flying Horse. It affects every community. What has happened with fentanyl now? We invited people in because we don't punish the people that are distributing it. We do not punish the people that are possessing it. When you possess 4 grams of a drug and you get a misdemeanor, that's ridiculous. Not only do you get a misdemeanor, you're not going to jail. We need to change the legislation. I have that experience. I have testified. That's what we need to do. But when we change those laws and we don't punish people, we invite the cartels in because it's profitable. We need to stop that.
So welcome to being a border state. That's true. You have cartels here. It's kind of like you see one termite and your house is kind of falling down underneath. While I believe that the state had the constitutional right and authority through the 10th Amendment to legalize marijuana, they nullified a federal law, and they were, I think, within their scope to do that. I think that was very, very irresponsible. So let me explain to you what that did. The illegal grows are now allowing those cartels, probably mostly Sinaloa, from running from me through the border. They don't have to pack that through. They can grow it here and distribute it throughout the United States. Fentanyl, China, Mexican cartels. All this money is going back to the cartels. If you just look at the amount of money that is funding what should rightfully be called terrorist organizations, they live with us now.
He is not on this panel. Do not clap. I understand. Love you, Matt.
Yes, they're here, and we need to do something to stop them from making this an easy target for them. So we need to make it uncomfortable for them to be here. That's how people thrive, is when they come to a community, and I've also worked on those. I've also been out to the grows, and I've also been out to a lot of those areas and seen firsthand. I've also went out since then as a citizen and talked to the people out east, and yes, they're worried about their water, but you know what else they're worried about when you talk to them? Is English is becoming a second language now. They're not equipped for that in the schools. So when you get out there and you talk to the folks in the county, you start finding out all kinds of things that it's taxing. It's taxing the schools, our water, our resources, and it's affecting all of us, and that's not fair. We should not allow them to operate here. We should make it uncomfortable for them to operate here. But that starts, like the undersheriff is saying, is we got to make it a crime. When all this stuff isn't even a crime and you can possess enough fentanyl to kill everybody in this whole room and it's a misdemeanor, that's a problem. And we should do something about that, or we should try to make sure we're fighting that, because that's where the true problem's at, is I've arrested some people twice in the same day. So it's pretty, it's pretty silly, right? So we should think of ways to stop that and make it uncomfortable for them to thrive here. That's what I would do.
How do we, the people, hold you accountable as sheriff? What recourse do we have if you do not defend our constitutional rights?
That's a great question, and I would say visit my website and you'll see that we the people is everybody supporting me. That's the kind of support I want. That's how I want to be elected. That's who I serve. And if I don't do my job, then I shouldn't be in office, right? I should be supported by the people of who elect me. That's who I should be accountable to. I'm proud to be accountable to those people. I'm proud to serve those. I have a high set of moral standards. I always have. I started my career as a chaplain, serving the people. I'm proud of that. I don't change. I don't budge on my morals. I didn't have to say that's who I was today because I was running for office. I've lived my life that way. And so I plan on living my life that way as sheriff too. I believe I'm accountable to the people, and I believe if I don't do my job, I shouldn't be in office, and I should be removed from office. Firmly believe in that.
I'm not concerned about that at all. I'm not going to break promises. You can go to my website, see what I will deliver, and I will deliver it. I'm already doing those things. I've already started doing those. The mechanism that we have in place honestly doesn't work. We tried to impeach people before. How many people have been impeached? Anybody remember? The system doesn't work. So I am accountable. I hold myself accountable. Remember I talked about accountability through the entire rank structure of the sheriff's office? That includes me. I should be held most accountable. The sheriff serves every citizen of El Paso County, not just unincorporated. We serve Monument, Colorado Springs, Palmer Lake, Fountain, every single citizen in El Paso County. I will hold myself accountable. If there's a promise that I broke, you come to my office. You don't have to go to the 5th floor and ask for me. You want to see me? I will come to you. I will be available. You will see me out there. I don't need to be in Mahogany Row in my office. I will be accessible from day one.
So, Ken, the question was how to remove? Isn't that the question? Could you repeat the question?
Who's going to repeat the question? I deleted the question. How do we hold you accountable? That's very good.
So
good job, Mr. Winnie.
You recall a sheriff, or you vote the sheriff out of office. I will point out that since I entered the race, I have not changed one letter of my platform, of my ideology, of my philosophy, of what I have pledged to you. I came out as the people's sheriff to defend your rights, the last line of defense for your God-given rights. I am a true believer in this mission. This is my calling. I have served and defended the Constitution since I was 18 years old. I will continue to do this. That is the only reason I am doing this at all. The only reason that I left the United States Border Patrol a year ago is because I believe that our federal and state governments are embarking on a mission to infringe upon and degrade our constitutional rights. I believe that I have the courage and the fortitude to do this for you.
Okay, this will be the last question. And by the way, there were some really good questions remaining, so don't think I just ignored you. But I got a lot going on up here, so I can't remember all these questions after I've deleted them, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so do you support charter schools and private schools who have or seek to have their teachers and staff concealed carry on campus? And would you have the El Paso County Sheriff's Office work in partnership with those schools to ensure a safe learning environment? We'll begin with Joe.
Absolutely. I talked about concealed handgun program and what I did to make sure the citizens who wanted those permits receive those permits. What better way to protect our youth than have the experts in the county provide the training to those who want it? If someone's uncomfortable with the weapon, we shouldn't force it upon that individual, but I guarantee you we have plenty of teachers and administrators in all of our schools who want to carry to protect our youth. Along with that, we need to put more school resource officers in there so we have law enforcement readily available to support those teachers. But one deputy doesn't cut it if we have an active shooter. We need resources. We can't wait for the deputies responding to that emergency. We need those teachers and administrators who are trained by us, know our tactics, and are familiar with what we're going to do, who are there on scene to protect our children.
Yes. I mean, yeah, of course. Actually, like I said, I live in Peyton. Peyton's public school, their teachers are armed. Fully support that, fully support anybody being armed. And if they want to partner with the sheriff's office to train them, absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely agree. The program they're talking about is called Faster Colorado. It's by Laura Carno. That's who brought the program to Peyton. I'm a very good friend of Laura's. I've been through her course. She has an excellent course, and we should partner with her as well. We should partner if anybody's doing a good job. Laura's doing a fantastic job, and so that's being modeled all over the country. So I would absolutely be a proponent of that. I was also the lieutenant in charge of our schools, and like the undersheriff said, we don't have nearly enough SROs to cover that many schools. So we need to do something, and I think getting a floor, getting of people that know what they're doing and implement, make sure that those folks have the training and the resources necessary to protect our children and grandchildren. So yes.
All right, everyone please give these three gentlemen a hand.